Hello everyone, my name is Jason and welcome back to this channel about magic. Magic! This is episode 3 of America's Got Talent The Champions 2020. And today we're going to take a look at a magician named Ben Hart. He's a British magician, previously competing on Britain's Got Talent where he performed a variety of close-up and stage magic. It seems like the trend of lots of magicians on America's Got Talent is continuing strong. We've already had 3 magicians on the last 2 episodes. You can see my previous reactions to those. And on this episode we have 2. Anyways, let's go ahead and start with Ben Hart first and see what he has in store for us. Let's go.
Ben Hart.
Hi.
How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm a little bit nervous, but I'm doing good.
You are a magician.
That's right. My name is Ben Hart. I'm 29. I'm from London, and I'm a magician. I discovered magic when I was very young. I grew up on a diet of dark and evil fairy tales. I've always liked the idea of the battle between good and evil. Ever since then, I just have lived in a fantasy world.
Is that his real eye color? Because if so, that's amazing. What are they, yellow? He looks kind of like The Witcher. Anyways, I'm gonna have to Google this later and see if he's wearing contacts or if those are real. After some extensive Googling, I couldn't find anything. So let's just assume that his dreamy eyes are real. Proceeding.
Magic reminds us that there is mystery in the world.
That's just done my head in.
You are like the living embodiment of magic. You're an act genuinely made for fables.
To see an audience on their feet cheering a piece of magic that's really resonated with them is a very nice feeling.
Only one of you can leave here as tonight's winner.
Waiting to hear the results felt like an eternity.
The third placed act in Britain's Got Talent 2019.
And I knew that my life might be completely transformed.
Ben Hart.
And so I was disappointed to not win. But what I didn't realize is my life has changed anyway.
This young man wowed us with his spell-binding magic skills.
Now I'm going on my first headlining tour around the UK. People stop me in the street. It's crazy. But I think what makes somebody a champion is the desire to push themselves further, to take extra risks. And that's what I intend to do here. And so I hope I'm ready to impress on this huge, massive, global scale. I've been working really hard trying to perfect my performance because not many people get a second chance to prove that they're a champion. So I'm really glad to perform again, and maybe I'll go all the way this time.
That's really cool how just being on America's Got Talent or Britain's Got Talent can completely change your life. It seems like a lot of times even if you don't win, it doesn't really matter because then people recognize you and you get offers for gigs or bookings. Also, as I'm sure you guys are feeling right now, I'm getting a very Harry Potter-ish vibe from this guy. And that's cool how he grew up, as he said, loving this idea of the battle between good and evil. It can really affect the storytelling and how you choose to present magic. So let's see what he's got.
When I was traveling in India, I witnessed a ritual that happens by the river at night. The locals crowd on the riverbanks, and they fill bowls with offerings of candles, flowers, rice, and they float these bowls into the water whilst they make a wish. One bowl, reflected in the water, in the river, becomes 2 bowls. Don't worry, that is not the trick. But why double an empty bowl? And these bowls really are empty, totally empty. And so I will fill one of the bowls with a...
I just gotta stop right now and say, when he says they're empty, totally empty, it just makes me feel like maybe they're not empty. Let me take another look.
An empty bowl, and these bowls really are empty, totally empty.
I don't know, I mean, they look pretty empty unless there's some kind of special optical illusion going on there. Maybe with the reflection of the inside of the bowl. Listen, I'm not a scientist, okay? Oh, and by the way, I really enjoy how, he's building this up all serious and, fantastic. And then he stops and says, don't worry, that's not the trick. I mean, I like that. It kind of reminds me a little bit of David Copperfield because, he's presenting these amazing performances with a real storyline and he'll make jokes and kind of make eye contact with the audience and laugh. Anyways, it's a small touch, but I just kind of enjoyed that. Proceeding.
Single grain of rice. 1 grain of rice reflected in the water and in the river becomes 2 grains of rice. That's 1.
How do we see that?
Oh. That's 2. The smallest piece of magic ever presented on this stage. But why double just one single grain of rice when you could double an entire bowl full of rice? I will fill this bowl with enough rice to fill it to the brim. No more and no less, just one bowl of rice. One bowl reflected in the water. And even though this is now a sealed chamber and my sleeves are completely up, I can't get in or out, there is now twice as much rice in the bowl as when we started. I will level all of this rice off. There is still rice in the bowl, that's important. On the riverbank, I see a man reflected back at me holding 2 brass bowls. And at that moment, I'm not sure if I'm real or if I'm the reflection. Because the man in the reflection parted his bowls to reveal he is holding the bowls of rice, which means I am holding bowls of water.
What?
Wow.
Thank you.
Oh, wow.
Is that it?
Thanks, everyone.
Don't tell me that was it.
That was it.
All right, I'll go ahead and give you my opinion before we hear what the judges are going to say, although it kind of feels like we've already heard what they're going to say. Yeah, I guess that was a little bit strange. As the judges were saying, is that it? Maybe we've become too accustomed to magicians, you know, just doing something and then amping it up and ramping it up even more. But I don't know, it has to do with the storytelling and the presentation, right? I mean, I kind of felt like we were building to something, to a climax, and then it just stopped. Don't get me wrong, I did like his storytelling concept. It was like a beautiful image with this idea of the river and the reflection looking into it, and is he the real person or is he only the reflection? That was some cool kind of deep philosophical thought. But somehow I felt like it didn't hit right, like it didn't resonate necessarily with the audience, or perhaps not make sense with the rest of the performance. Stop it. Stop it. Anyways, I was also feeling like the magic he's doing is fairly small and close up, yet he has this gigantic silk in front of him, I guess, to represent the river. But it just seemed too much of a mismatch to me, like this big thing and the magic is just right here. Maybe if he had somehow made that whole thing smaller and even like sat down at a table with the camera really close in, maybe that would have had a better feeling. I don't know. Anyways, it's fairly obvious already the judges weren't too impressed, but let's go ahead and hear what they had to say.
What did you think? Are you confused? We all didn't know really when it was over, yes?
Yeah, just like...
I probably should have said my name's Ben Hart, thank you.
Listen, this is Champions. Maybe it's your nerves, but it kind of fell off at the end. Remember, only 4 acts are going through tonight. Is this worthy of being one of those? I personally don't think so.
Alicia.
I've seen Ben perform before, and normally your presentation is perfection. But what let you down tonight was the awkwardness of possibly what could be nerves.
This is Champions. It's gotta be perfect.
Simon.
It was like watching one of those weird info commercials. You know, this is the rice maker, and I swear to, I mean, I'm struggling here as to know what to say, because I'm looking going, that's it? Ben, look, for someone of your talent and your charisma to come on this stage with that, I'm sorry, it was nowhere near good enough.
Oh,
sorry.
I feel terrible. I don't want to put more salt into the wounds. Thank you so much for being here, Ben. Oh my gosh, I feel terrible.
It was not good. But what I was saying is, when he is good, he's great. So I've seen him be great.
I think that, you know, there's different styles of magic, and magic's not always about, you know, like pyrotechnics going off at the end.
Yeah.
And sometimes you want a story that lingers with people. I don't know.
He did really well on BGT.
Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and give you my closing thoughts. So yeah, I've got to say that his previous performances on Britain's Got Talent were definitely more strong than that. I think he's certainly a great performer, as the judges were saying. We just didn't really see that today. It's funny what he said at the end when he was talking to Terry about how it doesn't always have to be pyrotechnics, and he wanted to leave people with a thought or a message to think about. A thought to think about. Genius. Yeah, so that actually leaves me kind of wondering what he hoped to communicate with his message in this performance. Maybe the problem is that it just didn't have enough polish yet. You know, he had these concepts of this river in India and seeing the reflection in the water, but maybe he just hadn't had enough chance to perform this to really wrap it all together and have a cohesive message for us to understand. And even I was kind of left feeling like there should have somehow been a bigger finale. I think if he wanted to focus on the message, maybe he should have actually had some specific concept to communicate to us, like, so therefore guys, remember, when you see other people in the world, they're just like reflections of you in the river, and treat them with love. Or something like that, something to just kind of tie it all together. Anyways, he seems like a great guy, great performer. I just think this act wasn't his best. And now it's that time for AESOP'S Fables. We will select one randomly, as is our policy. Okay, today we are doing Chapter 32, The Ass and the Lapdog. There was once a man who had an ass and a lapdog. The ass was housed in the stable with plenty of oats and hay to eat, and was as well off as an ass could be. The little dog was made a great pet of by his master, who fondled him and often let him lie in his lap. And if he went out to dinner, he would bring back a tidbit or two to give him when he ran to meet him on his return. The ass had, it is true, a good deal of work to do, carting or grinding the corn, or carrying the burdens of the farm, and ere long he became very jealous, contrasting his own life of labor with the ease and idleness of the lapdog. At last one day he broke his halter, and frisking into the house just as his master sat down to dinner, he pranced and capered about, mimicking the frolics of the little favorite, upsetting the table and smashing the crockery with his clumsy efforts. Not content with that, he even tried to jump on his master's lap, and as he had so often seen the dog allowed to do. At that, the servants, seeing the danger their master was in, belabored the silly ass with sticks and cudgels, and drove him back to his stable half dead with his beating. "Alas," he cried, "all this I have brought on myself. Why could I not be satisfied with my natural and honorable position, without wishing to imitate the ridiculous antics of that useless little lapdog?" Is there a moral of the storyline? Nope, we're left on our own to figure this one out. This is actually one of the longer AESOP'S Fables. This one takes up an entire page. Okay, so what can we say about this? Well, I guess it's pretty obvious that the ass made a real ass of himself. So we can see here that the ass actually had it good. Let's just call him a donkey, okay? The donkey had things good, he had a good life, but then he became ill-content when he saw how good the lapdog had it. He's basically comparing himself to others and then becoming unhappy. And when he got so jealous, he tried to act like he was a lapdog and just ruined everything because he wasn't even true to his own nature. So we can say, appreciate the things you've got, be true to who you are, or else. I guess that's a pretty clear and straightforward interpretation for this story. Yeah, I don't feel like there's much else. This story is just a little bit long in that it's long-winded. It doesn't necessarily carry more meaning, it's just longer. And maybe we can learn a moral from that. Sometimes we can learn a lot, even from a very short story. I didn't need to know the details of exactly how this donkey was smashing about the house, destroying everything, although it was kind of funny to imagine. Which brings us to a different point. It's not always about the destination, it's the journey. So maybe this story longer is telling us that we should enjoy life as a journey and not merely a destination. All right. I think right now we've reached moral of the story overload. So let's just say, remember to count your blessings, don't compare yourself to others or you'll become jealous, and stay true to your nature. And that's all for this story time. So, leave a comment below. What did you think of Ben Hart's performance? What was your interpretation of this fable, if you have a different concept than I did? Thanks so much for joining me. Remember to smash like, and I'll see you next time. Yup.